The final step is to spray the piece of equipment down with a corrosion inhibitor of some type. This is probably one of the most overlooked steps in extending the life of a piece of equipment. A recommended choice is Spray-On's Outdoor Metal Protectant. This is available through your local Ventrac dealership. Some people may ask, is WD-40 a good product to use? And I'll tell you it's better than nothing, but the real answer is no. It's better suited for penetrating fluids such as loosening a bolt or so forth. WD-40 will wear off within a very short period of time. So a long-term protectant of some sort would be a better choice. We'll want to start spraying everything down. As the last step, the V-blade, get those cylinders, bolts, rear skid shoes, some wall threads here on the spring adjustment. It'd been good to spray these diverter valve. This is unpainted stuff right here. Just help keep some of that salt off from corroding things. You may need to flip the blade up so you can get the bottom bolts here and skid shoe. Cylinder hoses. Any place you think that might start corroding. Okay, now as far as spraying this broom, I picked this broom because it is an older broom that's been out in the salt and used a lot for snow removal. And there are certain areas that are really starting to rust pretty badly. If you look at these hoses, you'll notice they're really corroded. Filter head, the pump, and some of the pulleys here. On this side over here, the bearing is really rusty over there as well. So I'll point a few of those things out, but we're just going to go ahead and spray. And again, we're going to spray these hoses and this pump. Now the pump and motor, because of hydraulic heat, it is going to eventually burn off. So if you want to recoat that, if you want to try to keep those from starting to rust. This unit is really starting to rust, and some of that's going to be a little bit hard to eliminate. Again, these are pretty greasy already, but we'll spray those a little bit. The center pivot, where it slides right here, let's spray that area. Our bolts, filter head. If there's any areas that are starting to show a little rust or bare spots, if you want to, you could touch those areas up with paint. You could take some sandpaper and you could touch those up a little bit. What I'm going to do is just spray them down a little bit with some protectant just to try to stop some of that from continuing. Next, we're going to need to flip it up on its nose so we can get this bottom pivot. Bottom pivot here is one that's forgotten about quite a bit. Again, we greased the one already. Let's spray it real good. And then that center pivot there it doesn't have a grease zerk. We want to make sure we coat that real well. Another area here would be the caster wheels. I'm just going to start spraying the piece of equipment in any place there's a shaft, bearing, skid shoes, places like that that have the potential for rust. You may ask, how much is too much? Really, you can't go wrong. Any excess you can wipe off, and you just want to really give everything a coat that's going to see that salt and moisture. So I'm spraying the bearings to help keep some of the salt and moisture out of those bearings, extend the life of those bearings. You want to be careful you don't get the belt. Skid shoes, again, another place where you're going to get a lot of salt and moisture build up, and it'll be hard to adjust to skid shoes. Skid shoes on both sides. Again, we have a pulley here with a shaft. Bolts are another thing that you'll want to spray. In case you ever need to replace that bearing, you can get to it. The discharge chute has a lot of pivot points on it. Again, a lot of bolts. So what you're going to want to do is just spray those areas down. And again, you can get a rag and wipe up any excess later. This unit's new, but if this is an older piece of equipment, you want to be looking for any bare spots on the paint, places that have nicks. We've got a chain. Again, just coat those areas to help keep that salt down. Here we've got, again, 2 bearings on either side of the auger. Want to make sure we get those bearings good. Bolt heads. And then if you look at the bottom, you've got your cutting edges. And then really to get the bottom side here good, we should flip the snowblower up. Here you can see the skid shoes again. Again, you may want the skid shoes and the cutting edges, getting those bolt heads. And then the underside here of this jack shaft. Again, there's 2 bearings there. I want to try to, if possible, keep it from getting on the belt, but you can wipe some of that off if you need to. Now we'll talk a little bit about spraying a tractor with some corrosive protectant. How much you spray it and how often and where is all going to depend a little bit on how often you use the unit, how much salt it's in. You know, if a unit's got a rear salt spreader and you're running through a lot of salt as a commercial snow contractor, you may want to spray the unit down quite a bit to try to save on some of the rust and so forth. For a homeowner or a casual user, you may just want to hit some key areas and just to kind of protect some of the areas that are down at the bottom, some of the areas that might already show a little rust or have some bare spots on it. I want to spray some of these bolts and stuff that are in the bottom, especially these pivot points. I'll move around to the front here. Again, some of the center pivots, cylinder pivot. For a homeowner or a casual user, this will probably last you a complete season. If you do this again at the end of the season, you'll be ready to go for next winter. As a commercial snow contractor, you'll want to do this at least every 50 hours. Any more than that if possible. That'll help keep the piece of equipment operating to its best. We'd like to thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it's been helpful in understanding some of the maintenance tips and things you can do to keep your Ventrac equipment performing at its best.